Where are you? Not sure.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm down in Warehouse in a meeting.
Oh, nice. It's not on a beach, that meeting, is it?
You know where Captain's Inn is?
No.
For next time you come down, I'll bring you here.
Okay.
We're live, everybody. Mics are hot. Who's calling in?
Steve Ravel's on the phone here, and Marie Burke is there, so we have two.
And is John coming?
John
He
is...
did
Oh,
not.
no, he said he was actually
Oh, he's
teaching today,
teaching
so he would not be
Teacher
able
will
to
not be
call
here.
in or come.
Okay.
Everybody good?
Good.
Yep.
Good.
Good. Good. Call the meeting to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Here.
DePena?
Here.
Graziano?
Here.
Councilmember Nattari will not be attending this evening. Councilmember Rovell?
Here.
Strumelob Burke?
Here.
Mayor Melham?
Here. Pledge allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sunshine notice.
Notice of this meeting has been given to the press and the public in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Law.
Make a motion to open public commenting.
Motion.
Motion made and seconded. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
DePena?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Rovell?
Yes.
Strumelob Burke?
Yes.
Mayor Melham?
Yes. Public commenting is now open. Mr. Frantantoni?
Is this public comments, or is this a public hearing on the amendment to the budget?
I believe this is public commenting on the amendment to the budget. Since
Well,
there's
that's
no
not
other,
comment.
It's not a hearing.
It's not a hearing.
okay, it's not here.
Well, according to statute 48:4-9, amendments to the budget require a public hearing.
Only if they require an advertisement. This budget, it meets the parameters of not having to be advertised for public hearing because none of the appropriations are increasing or decreasing by 10%, and the levy is not going up by 5%. So it's just a resolution to adopt the amendment and then a resolution to subsequently adopt the budget.
Thank you, Mr. Piconi.
Well, the statute said the amendments to the budget required by the judge may be made prior to the time of holding the public hearing on the budget without public advertisement. But you have to hold a public hearing.
It's scheduled for later on. Right now, you just got open public meeting. The amendment's going to be introduced, I guess, in another part of the meeting, and at that point, you'll have the opportunity to speak, like any other resolution.
Well, that's what I'm asking, because the agenda does not have, which you normally, I've been doing this since 1968, it does not have any wording here that says there's going to be a public hearing on the amendment. Public comment usually comes after the public hearing. It's a separate issue.
Again, when you introduce the resolution to amend the budget, at that point in time, you can open the public hearing on the amendment to the budget. If you're changing the way meetings were run in the past by having a public comment prior to the amendment, that's something that's not related to the amendment, so.
Do you have a comment on the budget, or?
Yeah, I do, but I think the proper time is when you officially call a public hearing on the budget, and then I can speak to that issue, and then the public comments could be done later after we have heard some of that conversation with the budget. I don't know why it's taken out of order. I've never seen this. Public comment is always after the official business, especially on budgets. So if
Well,
you
then we
want
would be
to
taking action, and then commenting would be after the actions. Wouldn't you want to comment before the actions?
No, because we don't know what action you're taking. It's
So you would rather us vote and then speak? Then
No.
you want to speak?
No, I want to have the public hearing where I can then question the reason for a public hearing on a budget or an amendment to the budget, so the public can ask questions of why you're amending it, what you're amending, and those things. Later, public comment, and you sat there for 4 years as a councilman, I think you know it, and I've been there a long time, and I've never seen it done this way. The agenda, you said, the hearing on the public, on the agenda, and then the resolution to adopt the agenda, and then later on, public comment. Anybody wants to speak on anything else, or even if they want to speak on that. But it's always been up front, and the public comment is always after this official business.
I mean, I don't know what to say, again, because, again, by statute, the amendment that we're adopting tonight has been sent down to the Division of Local Government Services, it has been approved by the Division of Local Government Services, and it does not require an advertisement or a public hearing other than any other public hearing, like on any other resolution that you're adopting. Now, if there's a difference of opinion, that's beyond my control.
Well, again, I'm not making this up, it's not my, I'm reading from the state statute, which I printed out about an hour ago.
I respect that, Mr. Frantantoni, but we have to listen to what our auditor advises us also.
Well, look.
I mean, you have the chance now to speak. Did you have a question, anything specific you'd like
Yeah,
to
in all
discuss?
due respect, you have to listen to the auditor. In all due respect to Mr. Falcone, I said, I've testified at every public hearing on every budget, and the advertisement says this is when the public advertises. I've asked many questions on every single budget.
Right.
And
This is not a
Mr.
budget,
Falcone
this is a budget
has no
amendment.
answers most of the time. He says, I'll get back to you. And now after the last 4 or 5 years, we now have video recordings which can prove those comments. So you're supposed to be prepared as an auditor to have the answer. Maybe you councilmen don't know all the answers, which is, that's possible, but here's a guy getting paid big money to have it. And when I ask these questions, I think, I don't know, I'll get back to you. Or call me tomorrow or
I beg to
something.
differ with him there, because every time he's asked me a question, I've responded with an answer.
Thank you, Mr. Falcone.
And the answer has been, I'll get back to you.
Mr. Frantantoni, do you have a specific question about this budget you'd like to address?
Yeah, but for the record, is this the time for the public hearing on the
This is
budget?
public comment, and you can speak on anything you want to speak on.
You want-
This is public commenting.
There is no public hearing, there's no public hearing necessary, okay? You can read the statute, if you read the statute, okay, there was already a public hearing on this budget, okay? The only time a public hearing is necessary, as Mr. Falcone said, after the public hearing for the original budget, is if there is a 10% increase or decrease in any item of appropriation, and there's an increase in the amount raised by taxes more than 5%, which isn't the case, or there's a new appropriation in excess of 1% of the total budget. None of those things are occurring here, therefore a public hearing is not necessary. If you'd like to make a comment, you're free to do that, but a public hearing is not necessary. That's all we're saying.
There's an earlier part of public hearings about the original budget. I understand that. This is amendments. So if this is the part of the amendment there, can we have an explanation of what you're doing with this amendment? Yeah, and I'm asking that, you got 4 councilmen there, and 2, and that's another thing I object on the public comments, Mayor. This is getting a little sickening, not only you, prior administrations, this phone thing. And it's calling meetings 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Not even elected officials can get to the meeting because of job responsibilities and all that. So this has got to stop. The public another person I was with this morning for an hour was going to come here, but he can't get off the job. So this has got to stop. That's another issue, but this is the time to bring it up. Because look at this. People want to come to these meetings, and it used to be 8 o'clock, and we used to have big crowds at 8 o'clock. It got moved to 7 o'clock, and then moved down to 6:30, and nobody can get here. So what are we doing with this amendment?
Is that your question, Mr. Frantantoni? That's, you're looking for a summary of what the amendment is?
Yeah.
We're,
Mayor, I have a brief statement, if you'll allow me
Sure.
to read it. It won't take long. Okay, as the person who pretty much crafted this budget, all right, in consultation with the governing body, back in April, we introduced the 18 budget with the $753,000 increase, all right, which brought the budget from $64,038,998 to $64,792 plus or minus, which was a projected introduced increase at the time of $66.56 on an annualized basis, or $5.55 a month. And the drivers at that time, which are still the drivers this time, were the municipal election, the garbage contract, utilities, collective bargaining agreements, pensions, sewer charges, and healthcare. All right? This amendment is necessary because of the revenue that was anticipated back in April but not realized totaled $1,350,000, okay? In addition to that, we cut appropriations, an additional $400,000, which gave us a projected rate of $1.09, all right, which will produce a projected increase of approximately $150 a year. But when you net that out against the decrease in the county and the Board of Ed budgets, it will yield an overall increase of approximately $99 to the average citizen, all right, annually, or $8.25 per month. Now, previous budgets, including this one, all contain structural deficiencies that will be addressed in the 2019 budget, all right, and that process will in fact begin in November of this year, moving forward, all right? And during that process, we're going to have a complete review of the policies and procedures, all right, that are in place, operating standards, and personnel, all right? And this will be conducted to enhance service delivery and streamline operations and eliminating any costly overruns and redundancies that we have, all right? The process, again, will begin with requests, all right? And as part of this process, we've already started with 3 departments, the DPW, Recreation, the Building Department. We've requested action plans from them, all right? And we will request action plans from every other department, all right, in the township, so that we can review how business is conducted and how we can improve that, all right? All previous years' finances have in fact been reconciled, and 2019 should yield noticeable improvements, not only in service delivery, but in the way we do business, all right? We're also projecting added assessments for both 2017, which came after that budget, and 2018, totaling $11 million, which will yield in tax dollars to the township of $400,000. Joe, is there anything that I missed that you'd like to add?
That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Tucci.
All right, you said the original budget, you told us was $750,000 increase.
In April, the
Is
April
that what you
budget.
said? Because you know, I can't write 50.
Introduce, yes.
All right. What is the increase now?
The increase, it actually is a decrease, but where the issue came into play, all right, was in the revenues, all right? We had anticipated $1,175,000 in construction code fees in the form of permits, all right? $50,000 from a developer's agreement that did not materialize, and $125,000 that's due the township in reimbursement from the library that we didn't realize. So taking that into account, we then went back through the budget, all right, and reduced $400,000, and as with a combination of reductions in finance, police, fire, public works, health, utilities, and social securities, all right? We had an
Just
increase
stop there, that $400,000, was that a decrease in anticipated revenues or
in appropriations, no. The decrease in revenue was $1,350,000, Vin, and the decrease in appropriations, the money we actually give to them, was $400,000. That's what comprises this amendment.
All right, so bottom line, the original projection with the budget was to increase the budget, the taxpayers were going up $753,000. The bottom line, is the budget going up more than $753,000 or less?
No, the revenues that were anticipated have been decreased, which drove the rate up, which when we introduced, we were projecting $66 and change on an annualized basis, is now up to $150. But as I said, with the decrease in the county taxes and the decrease in the Board of Ed, for that average assessed home, all right, is $243,000, something like that, will be $99 a year.
You see, Mr. Mayor, I think you're a pretty smart guy. This is the kind of gobbledygook. This is the time for the municipal budget. I address the Board of Education, and on occasion I address the county. I don't want to hear the overall. I'm asking the municipal budget is what we're talking about here tonight. Let's stick with the municipal budget. It was introduced back in June or whatever it was and approved for a $750,000 increase, which was a $56 increase on us. Now, let me ask that, forget the county, forget the Board of Ed. We're here before you council people. Is the budget now going up more than $753,000? The municipal budget, don't tell me the whole thing, or less? I think that's a simple question. Now, I get the gobbledygook. You see what I'm talking about here?
Let's see if we can clarify, there's no
I think
gobbledygook.
what Mr. Tucci said, the budget as introduced in June, the average increase was $66 or $68. The average increase now with the amendment is $151.50.
Okay, so it went up.
So
So then the amount of the actual budget.
The amount to be raised for taxes went up. The budget itself, you gotta take into consideration the fact that the revenues went down, but also revenues went up because we had $1 million worth of grants that came in. So you got a net decrease in revenues of $350. So you really gotta take all the component parts and add them together to get the actual differential. But the total budget that was introduced was $64,792,000. The budget as amended is $65,405,000. Now, if you
Okay,
take
so
all the
that's my
components.
simple, I can't do, you got the figures in there. So, I mean, it's to the bottom line, that's all.
That's it.
How much is the municipal budget going up now?
So you got your answer now.
Well, I can't write those figures down as fast as you said. You got it, you didn't subtract the previous one from the, what's the new?
I said to you, the previous budget as introduced was $64,792,502.87. The amended budget is $65,405,300.52.
It's on the
One
second,
differential in the amount to be
it's on the
raised for
second page,
taxes.
it's on the second page, Van, halfway down.
Well, once again, you get these answers. I hope this is on record as being the hearing for the municipal budget. And again, I didn't see it advertised, which, you know, but to get it tonight, I go over line by line, but I can't come in here tonight and go over the line 3 or 4 pages and all that. Hopefully, and I've said this year after year, but Mr. Tucci made a comment, you're gonna do it. When I was in office, beginning of December, every department head got a letter, want their budgets by December 1st, January 1st, in my office. We can't do this now, it's October, and we still don't have a budget.
I agree.
So it's simple, every director has to have his budget in by January 1st to project, but then we got 3 months that we.
Actually, the Faulkner Act says November,
Right.
that's what I said, we're starting the
We
process.
begin the process
This
in November.
November, man.
Yeah, well,
Starting it now.
I hope so, so that we don't
I
go.
mean, the
you know,
last budget was introduced in April.
April 10th.
So we got them in November, by the end of the previous year, the beginning of the year. So we're gonna follow the schedule. All right, and Mayor, if I might add, the shortfall in revenue, all right, we fully expect to realize in the 2019 year. All right, there were some delays, I guess there were some philosophical differences among some of the developers who were coming in and explained to us that their plans were to come in, so that's why we anticipated it, all right, but for whatever reason, decided to hold off of it. So any dollars that we get from developers coming in, taking out permit fees, will help offset the taxes for 2019, which we fully expect to happen. So no gobbledygook, just straightforward.
Thank you for that, but now I want to tell you, Councilman, for President too, if you hear me on the phone, we've got to get what I insisted when I was in office, zero-based budgeting, not what projected, oh, this builder's gonna come in and give us another $100,000 in taxes, good, we'll spend an extra $100,000. Zero-based budget, what do I actually need to fix the street? What dollar do I actually need to clean the streets and to provide the services? None of this stuff, oh, we're projecting that big development, we were told we were getting $2.3 million extra in taxes for Message Park. Look at the budgets. We got all extra money. Next year our taxes went through the roof anyway, right? So we got to get to zero-based budgeting, not this kind of stuff which you just heard tonight, that we anticipated all these buildings. That stuff's got to stop. Forget what we're going to get. If these builders come in with an extra 200 grand, thank God, then we can give tax relief to people. And that's why not only Belleville, That's why New Jersey is in the state it's in. That's why we got public employees making $150,000, $200,000 with platinum benefits, which is found nowhere in private industry. So please, Mayor, if you want to be a new vision for Belleville, let's go back to zero-based budget and actually give the people a tax cut, which can be done.
Thank you, Mr. Frantantoni. Mr. Sheldon?
Hi, Michael Sheldon. I just want to double check a couple of the relevant numbers. We were told that the tax levy increase on the median assessed home is $151, and of that, $99 is the municipal component.
No.
No.
Overall, realize, once you subtract a slight decrease in the county and the school district, you're down to $99 for the average household.
Right.
And Mayor, if I might, the reason I gave everyone the net number was because typically, when residents have a question, they don't go to the county, they don't go to the Board of
They come to
Ed.
the bottom line.
They come here.
They come to-
So that was my rationale for giving everyone that net
So-
number.
Right, so,
Nothing more, nothing less.
so yeah, it's $151, but when you subtract out the county and the school, it comes down to $99 for this building. Right, so my question is, how much is the tax levy increase for the county? I assume you have those numbers.
The county decrease for the average house is $25.10. The average decrease for the school portion of the levy is $26.89. And the increase on the municipal is the $150, $150.
Right, thank you, okay. All right, those numbers now.
The school levy for the year 18 is the same as that levy for 17. The reason why the levy, the tax burden went down is because the assessed value in the town went up. So therefore, the rate is lower than it was last year because of the assessed value of the community. But the tax levy for the school is the same last year this year, $39,764,229.
My other question was, I'm still a little bit confused over the chronology of events this year. We had the budget introduced on April 10th, then the public hearing took place on June 4th. Following the public hearing, the council moved to adopt that budget. So I assume we've had a budget in place.
No.
No, what happened between June 4th and today? That budget was in limbo,
It was
or?
I believe it was at the state. The state has to sign off on it.
Combination of two, was at the stage for review, and also the
Yeah,
governing
change.
body adopted temporary emergencies to continue the budget itself. You're allowed by statute to increase the budget 1/12 each month until you have a final adopted budget.
So procedurally, the council can adopt the budget before the state signs?
We didn't adopt the
No, you
budget.
can't.
No, that's
I
part of
should
it.
say that.
Yeah, it was only introduced.
The prior council, I should say that, the prior council introduced the budget
On
June-
April 10th, and then they,
voted on June, right.
Right.
And then it was at the state. While it was at the state, the governing body then, as you know, votes every single meeting for a temporary emergency budget.
Right.
That, as Mr. Picone said, is allowed to increase 1/12, being it's a monthly budget. And then we wait for the state to sign off on it. And
all right, so that's, the council adopts the budget, then it goes to the state for final.
didn't adopt it.
Introduce.
Introduced is a better word, yeah.
All right, so the system, your system is a bit different than what happens with the Board of Education, because the Finance Committee for the Board of Ed prepares a tentative budget, which then gets sent to the county for technical review, and if it meets their approval, then it comes back to the full board for a public hearing, and then the board votes after the public hearing to approve it or not. So I just assumed that the state, somebody, either this Trenton or DCA, would look at the budget before it was heard by the public, and before the council would vote on it, but you're telling me it actually works the other way. The state has a final say before it becomes official.
Correct.
And that's why we have, even though the council voted to adopt on June 4th.
Introduced.
Well, it was introduced on April 10th, and then the public hearing was on June 4th.
Right.
And
It's still
after the
not
public-
adopted, though.
Right.
It's, we basically vote, or the then council votes to send it down to Trent for.
So that vote
It's not
on June
really
4th
adopted.
was to send it to Trent.
Exactly.
All right. After 10 years of attending these meetings, you'd think I would understand the process by now, but still have a lot to learn. All right, that's it for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mafucci.
Just one quick question, and hopefully you'll have the answer. Bottom line, all 5 components of taxes, what is the rate? Do you know?
The tax rate is $3.938.
3.938.
The county is 0.516.
Oh, I don't need the breakdown. I
Okay.
just want the bottom line.
Okay, 3.938.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
The number I have to work with.
Okay, that's it.
Anybody else? Motion?
Motion to close public comment.
Motion made, close public comment, and second, clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
DePena?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelob?
Yes.
Mayor Melham?
Yes. So now
Mayor,
we go-
I have a resolution to amend the budget.
Sure, before you do that, I just want to make a quick comment. I don't like to really go back and forth when we're in public commenting, but I've heard Mr. Frantantoni speak now for 18 years, and I often don't disagree with him. I think that the 6:30 meetings is a good time to meet. I especially think that's a very important time to hold a public budget meeting, and I think in the future we should really work hard to keep our meetings to 6:30. I have no problem with that. I agree, this budget is a little late for me. I've had that conversation with Mr. Tucci and Mr. Picone. We've already said, I've said it publicly, whether it's on social media or here at these meetings. My last meeting that we were at, my mayor's report, I did say that this was unacceptable to go this long, in my opinion. And I'd like to start that process statutorily. It's in November, and I'd like to get a budget introduced early on in 2019. I even said publicly it would be a good time for our labor unions that have not negotiated with us yet to get in soon, otherwise they're going to be waiting until 2020, because I do intend to introduce the budget in early 2019. I agree, I've had this conversation, Mr. Frantantoni, with Mr. Tucci and Mr. Picone as late as last Friday about the one-time hits. We're not using one-time hits in next year's budget. One-time hits are not to go into operating. One-time hit should either pay off a one-time expense or go to surplus or go to tax relief or something like that. I agree, we do not. It's not, in my opinion, good budget practice to expect a one-time hit to use that for operating budget. A lot of times it is in the budget, but it's going for a one-time payoff to labor contract increase for 2 years before or something like that. A one-time hit should be used for a one-time hit. Revenue should be offset, or it goes to surplus, or it goes to, God forbid, building a park, or fixing something, a park, or something that we could do as a service for our community, not to go into a one-time budget. I'm pretty adamant about that, and I also agree, Mr. Frantantoni, even when we get those one-time hits, which, by the way, sometimes they are developer agreements, so you can't sit there and say, take a one-time hit and put it for tax relief if you're going to stand up here and complain about the one-time hit being a developer agreement, or being something that's offered in lieu of a pilot, or something like that. Those are how we get a lot of those one-time hits. Those are negotiated pilot deals that get us the one-time hit, so you can't be for that and want that for tax relief if you're going to be against the pilot or the one-time hit. But I agree, the one-time hits absolutely should go for either one-time expenditures or some kind of surplus, or, like I said, God forbid we upgrade a facility, which I think is where we're going to be going toward in 2019. That said, got that off my chest, Madam Clerk?
Can I have a motion and a second for a resolution to amend the budget, please?
Make a motion. Second.
A motion and second, clerk call the roll. I think you got to read something first.
Second resolution.
Second. Motion made and second to amend the 2018 municipal budget.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
DePena?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelob?
Yes.
Mayor Melham?
Yes.
The resolution to amend is adopted.
With a resolution to adopt the 2018 municipal budget.
Yes. Be it resolved by the governing body of the Township of Belleville, County of Essex, that the budget hereinbefore set forth is hereby adopted and shall constitute an appropriation for the purposes stated in the sums therein set forth as appropriations and authorizations of the amount of A, $51,133,449.82 for municipal purposes. E, $912,087 minimum library tax. That's it. Motion is second.
Any motion?
I'll make a motion for the resolution to adopt the 2018 municipal budget.
Second.
Motion made, second, clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
DePena?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Rovell?
yes,
Strumelob Burke?
Yes.
Mayor Melham?
Yes.
Budget is adopted.
Mayor, just for clarification, Kelly will email his budget down to the state tomorrow morning or this evening.
Tonight.
They'll certify the amount to be raised to the county tax board, and then the county tax board tomorrow will certify the tax rate so the tax collector can send out the tax bills this week.
And we can realize the added assessments.
Yes.
Next year's budget.
Right. In other words, we had to have an adopted budget by tonight to get the certified tax rate for the year.
Understood.
Motion?
Yep. Is that it?
Thank you, Joe.
No, motion to adjourn?
Motion made, second, clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
DePena?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Rovell?
yes.
Strumelob Burke?
Yes.
Mayor Melham?
Yes.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Maureen.
Okay.
Take care, bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.